Good morning, Morai, Rabotai, Biruchim Abayim. We are continuing on Masechet Rosh Hashanah, and we are on top of Daf Hey Amud Bet, the first line. Today's Amud is being learned as a Schut Refuah Shlema for Daniela bat Rachel Mazal bat Saltanat Goltach, dedicated by Dan family. Also anonymously sponsored for Refuah Shlema of Daniel Moshe ben Farangis Abraham, and Rachel Simcha bat Nahid. It's also dedicated for the Fasherma of Sarah Batmina by Tapan family. And our Amud is being learned today, Leilu Nishmat Shoshana Bat Yehuda by Sadiq family, Leilu Nishmat Mordechai ben Jalal and Muhtaram Bat Mordechai by Barkoda family, and Leilu Nishmat Betzalel ben Rafael Esther, dedicated by Mahbubi family. Today's Amud is also learned Leilu Nishmat Esther Bat Naftali Tzvi Halevi, dedicated by Abraham family. This month's learning of the community has been graciously dedicated by the Trey family and Mahbubi families. Should be an ultimate schut for all of their mishpachot. Be'ezrat Hashem. Amen. Okay, we started a fantastic sugya of Bal Tacher. That means if you have a neder or a korban, you have to bring it within a certain window of opportunity. And if you pass that window, then you are in transgression of an actual law in the Torah of Bal Tacher. So we went through 5 different shitas of when exactly is this Bal Tacher. The Tarakama held that from the moment that you made the neder, you have 3 regalim. And we know it from the Pasuk that extra mention of Chag HaMatzot, Chag HaShavuot, Chag HaSukkot tells you that 3 regalim passes a cycle of a year, then you're in transgression. Rabbi Shimon said, no, it's exactly that order. It has to be Chag HaPesach, then Shavuot, then Sukkot. So until you have passed those 3 in that order, you're not over. Rabbi Meir said, no, exactly the opposite. One thing and you're out. One strike and you're out. You have the first moment of opportunity. You go to Yerushalayim, the first Chag after your neder, and you don't bring it, you're over. Rabbi Eliezer Bar Yaakov says no 2 regalim. Because it says b'moadechem, so it's plural form 2 regalim. And Rabbi Shimon says no, it's only Chag HaSukkot because Chag HaSukkot is the extra mention in the pasuk. So we have all these shitot about Bal Tachar, beautiful. We discussed it, we went through. Now, the Gemara is going to go back on the very beginning of this Braita. The way we started it 1.5 dafim ago, in the very bottom of Daf Dalet Amud Aleph, 2 lines up, we started a Tanu Rabbanan, which counted up 16 different things that you're going to be transgressing Bal Tachar if you don't bring it. So it's not just the korban, but it is Tamin, Erchin, Haramin, Hekdeshot, Chataot, Ashamot, Ola, Shlamim, Tzedakah, Maser, Bechor, Pesach, and obviously Leket, Shechau, Pe'ah, all of those are counted. Now the Gemara asks, on top of Hey Amud Bet, how do we know the Akol Hanach de Tanya b'matnita le'el Ika Bal Tacher? How do we know that all of these things have Bal Tacher? Now Bal Tacher is a very specific pasuk that speaks about neder. I read you the pasuk from the side. The full pasuk in Dvarim Chaf Gimel Chaf Bet is Ki tidor neder laHashem Elokecha. When you make a neder for Hashem, lo ta'acher leshalemo, ki darosh yidreshenu Hashem Elokecha mimach. Do not delinquent, do not delay paying the neder that you made to Hashem, because He will darosh yidreshenu mimach. He will expect it from you. He will ask it from you. V'haya bechachet. And if you don't bring it on time, you will be sinning. So that's the pasuk that talks about Bal Tachar. Okay, that's it. So if you have this one pasuk, 2 lines, how in the world did you get 16 items out of this pasuk? Neder, bishlama, hazaku baruch. How about all the other things, right? And neder, by the way, doesn't just mean the way we call hatarat nedarim, neder. That is a very specific thing in the language of the Torah. What's neder in the language of Torah? Neder in the language of Torah is, I am going to bring this animal as a korban. It's my neder. Sometimes you have nedava. We've spoken about this before. The difference between neder and nedava is, I'll bring a olah. I'll bring a korban olah. Which animal? I don't know. We'll decide later. Right? Neder, nedava, they have a very specific difference. So is it going to be including everything in it or not? So says the Gemara like this. We start the Braita with the pasuk that we just read. Kitidor neder. When the pasuk says about being late and baltachar, kitidor neder. En li ela neder. I only see from this pasuk neder, but nedava minayin. How do I know nedava? So neder is hare alay ola. I make a neder, I'll bring you ola. I think I said it the other way around. What mistake? Right? Neder is hare alay ola. I'll bring a korban ola. Nedava is this animal. I'll bring this animal as a korban ola. So they're very different. We mentioned this before that by neder, if you lose the animal that you have chosen, doesn't make a difference. You said you are going to bring a korban ola. You're going to bring a korban ola, even if you lost the one that you chose later. You still have to bring a different one. But by nedava, you said harezu ola, right? And if you lost that one, then you're basically off the hook. So how do I know that the thing of neder is going to apply also to nedava? So says the Gemara, Ne'emar kan neder. Over here, by being late in payment of your neder, it says neder. Ve'nemar lehalan, and later on in the pasuk compares neder and nedava together. Therefore, I know that in all of their halachot, I could compare them together. Over there, it says im neder o nedava. The pasuk says if you bring neder o nedava, Sevach korbano biyom hakrivo et zivcho yachel u'machorat v'hanotar mimenu yachel. So when it comes to the bringing of the korban that was neder versus bringing a korban that was a nedava, the pasuk puts them together. And that hekesh that pasuk puts them together tells you that when it comes to the hakrava of neder, when it comes to actually bringing a neder and a nedava, they're equal. So just like by neder, you have a time limit of a window of whatever chagim that you have until you have to pay it, a nedava will be the same thing. So fine. So we have now one check, right? 2 out of 16. So says the Gemara, when it says La Hashem Elokecha, when it says La Hashem Elokecha, that in the pasuk again, going back, we're going to be referencing this first pasuk that talks about Baltacher many times in the next few lines. Kitidor neder la Elokecha. When you make a neder for Hashem, obviously you make a neder for Hashem. But when it says La Hashem Elokecha, when it was not necessarily needed to say it, it's coming to add, says the Gemara, that there is a neder that's La Hashem Elokecha, that's only for Hashem Elokecha. The Kohen does not get any portion of it. What is that? Says the Gemara, Elu Adamin, Ha'erchin, V'acharamin, V'ha'ekdeshot. All of those things that are donations to Bedek HaBayit, not Korbanot, but you're donating something to Bedek HaBayit. It could be donating an item. It could be donating your worth, right? Erech or tamim. All of those hekdeshot v'charamot that you give to the Bedek HaBayit are included in there because that's the Hashem Elokecha. That's a neder you're making to Hashem, which the Kohanim have no chelek in it. It's a monetary value donated to the Beit HaMikdash, not for top of the Mizbeach, not as a korban. So all of a sudden, you get a whole category of these 16 included in this one element, one drasha of L'Hashem Elokecha. So then it says, Lo ta'acher leshalemo. Do not delay paying it. Now the Gemara is going to say something. We're going to come back to this. Hu velo chilufav. It. Don't delay to pay it, but not its exchanges. Sometimes a korban could be exchanged. We spoke about the korban that you lost, and you had to, choose a different one. Sometimes the korban gets a blemish, and you have to exchange it. You can't bring this korban; you have to bring a different korban instead of it, right? So that korban that's instead of it is going to be not included in this drasha. The Gemara is going to have a hard time with this in a few lines from that, so we're going to come back to this. But so far, we have a drasha that the restriction of chumash, that you cannot be late in paying it, only applies to it, but not its exchange. We're going to come back to it. So says the Gemara, the Hashem is going to demand this from you. He's going to demand this from you. Elu chataot v'ashamot olot v'shelamim. These are obligatory korbanot. Things you have to bring from obligation. Now, certain korbanot, neder, nedava, all of those are voluntary. Say, I'll bring a neder for Hashem. I'll bring a nedava, right? And certain korbanot, it's an obligation because you did something, and now you have to bring a korban. So says the Gemara, if you take a look at Rashi, in the fourth narrow line, shehen chataot v'ashamot, shehen nidrashin meimach. They are expected from you. Sheharechovahem mutalin alecha. They are an obligation for you to bring. And olot ushlamim, korban olah v'shlamim, could be voluntary, could be obligatory. Right? If you say hara alai olah, I'll bring a korban olah. That's a voluntary korban olah. And you could also bring shlamim, shalmei chagiga, shalmei simcha. Shalmei chagiga maybe not. Shalmei simcha, I want to bring more and eat meat during the moed. Those korban shlamim are voluntary. And some of the korban shlamim and olot are obligatory. Take a look at Rashi. Rashi says, for olah v'shlamim, kegon olat re'iyah. When you come to Beit HaMikdash, by Shalosh Regalim, you have to bring korban ha're'iyah. Lo yira'et pnei Hashem lokecha reka. That olat re'iyah is an obligation on every person that comes to Chag. And shalmei chagiga also is an obligation. But shalmei simcha, the additional korbanot you bring to eat meat during the moed, that's going to be a shlamim that's voluntary. So we're talking about obligatory korbanot over here. Any obligation that you have, which is included in darosh yidrashenu meimach, the Hashem is going to expect you to bring those things, is included in this as well. So that's olot, shlamim, and chataot v'ashamot. Says the Gemara, Hashem Elokecha, that Hashem is going to demand this from you. That word Hashem Elokecha is extra. Why is it extra? Because the pasuk already had said Hashem Elokecha. Take a look at the full pasuk again. If you have it on the side, you'll see how extra this is. Ki tidor neder la Hashem Elokecha. When you make a neder for Hashem Elokecha, lo ta'achel leshalmo. Don't be late to pay it. Ki darosh yidreshenu Hashem Elokecha meimach. Because he's going to demand it from you. Just say darosh yidreshenu meimach. I know Hashem Elokecha. Why do you have to say it again within the same breath, Hashem Elokecha, twice? Right? Obviously, it seems pretty superfluous and redundant. So, what are you going to do with it? The Gemara says, Hashem Elokecha is coming to tell you, Elut tzedakot u'maaserot u'bechor. These are tzedakah u'maaser and bechor. Why? Because by tzedakah, it says Hashem Elokecha in the pasuk. The pasuk says, by tzedakot u'maaserot, Ulecha tiyeh tzedakah lifnei Hashem Elokecha in Bamidbar Chaf Dalet. So you see, Hashem Elokecha is coming to add something else in Chumash that it says about it, Hashem Elokecha, and those are the tzedakot, maserot, and bechor. Now the bechor is the whole girsa. Rashi had it, didn't have it. It seems like Rashi doesn't include it over here. But be as it may, those three items are from Hashem Elokecha. Now, me'imach, the last word over here, that Hashem is going to expect it, demand it from you. Me'imach ze leket shicha upeah. This is talking about leket shicha upeah, because this is the chelik of the ani that says et ha'ani imach. When it says you have to support the ani, the poor, it says you have to be careful. Et ha'ani imach. The ani is with you. So when the Torah says Hashem is going to mon imach, that word imach from you is referencing anything that goes to aniyim. What goes to aniyim? Leket shikha upeah. The things that you have to leave in your land for the aniyim to come collect. Those are the things that you cannot relinquish, and you cannot not do it on time. The maser ani, all those things included as well of the zeh leket shikha upeah. Fine. The very last three words of the pasuk again. Kitidor neder laHashem Elokecha. When you make a neder, lo ta'achir l'shalomot. Don't be late. Kidarosh yidreshenu Hashem, because Hashem is going to demand it from you to be paid. Ve'imach, from you, which is a reference again to the selek of the aniyim. Leket shicha upeah. Ve'haya bechachet. The pasuk ends, and you will be sinful. So says the Gemara, from this you see, you will be a sinner, it does not touch the korban. In other words, who would have thought if I waited 3 regalim, or whatever, however you paskin, if I waited enough that now I am over on Bal Tacher, just like any korban that's chutz lezmano, or chutz lemekomo, if you wait for a korban too long, the korban becomes pasul, right? So I would have maybe thought that this korban, I waited and I didn't bring it yet to the Bet HaMikdash, and 3 regalim passed, the korban should be pasul. It was no. You transgress the isur of being late, but the korban is still kasher. You bring it still, but now in your pinkas you got an X, right? But the korban still is kasher. The sin is on you. The korban is untouched as far as the kashrut of the korban is concerned. So says the Gemara, Amar more. We go back to what we promised 5 lines ago, that the pasuk that says, Lo ta'acher l'shalemo, do not be late to bring it. It is only it, but not its exchange, right? So says the Gemara, Chilufei mai, exchange of what exactly? Let's go through the motions here. If it's the chiluf, the exchange for or ola, korban ola, or shlamim, which means you had a korban ola, you had to bring it, and you lost it, and you separated another one to bring as a korban ola, and then oops, you found the first one, and you brought it. Now you have this chilufe korban there that it's on your hand. So take a look at Rashi. Chilufe ola kikon avda vehifrish acheret tachtea nimtzet harishona v'nitkaper ba. You found the first one. You had your kapara with the first one, and now you have this chilufe ola and shlamim. What's the halacha by chilufe ola v'shlamim? You bring them as a korban. You separated them to be brought as a korban. Not only you have to bring the first one that you found, you have to bring the second one as well. So if you have to bring them to the mizbeach, why wouldn't they have a limitation of the time that you have set? They also should have 3 regalim time. They don't have forever. So they also are considered ola. They're also considered shlamim. So they should also be restricted with the same restrictions that we had by a regular korban. So it can't be that. If it's a chilufe korban chatat, that means you have to bring a korban chatat, right? You did a sin that needed korban chatat, you separated it, then it got lost, you separated a different one, you brought it, and then you found the first one, right? So what happens? You separated it, then you first found the first one and you brought it. Now you have this chilufei chatat. What happens to chilufei chatat? The halacha is pretty clear in Shas. This is one of the 5 korbanot that it does not get brought to the mizbeach. You let it die, right? Or you kill it indirectly, not as a korban, right? So that's also, it's not going to be brought. So what do you mean? It has or it doesn't. Of course, it doesn't have a limitation of the 3 regalim to be brought. It's not going to even be brought. It's going to be killed. It's going to be dead. So it's not going to be brought as a korban. So of course, it doesn't have the limitations. So it can't be talking about that either. So far, if you want to tell me it's an exchange of ola and shlamim, why wouldn't it have the limit? Oh, it's a regular korban. It should have the limitation. If you want to tell me it's an exchange of chatat, what are you talking about? It doesn't bring. It's brought as a korban. It dies. So therefore, of course, it doesn't have that limitation. Elamai, here we're going to be busy with this for next 15 lines. So keep your minds on it. Elamai chilufav chilufe toda. You know what we're talking about? Korban toda. Zoveach toda mechabedani. When you bring korban toda, 4 different elements of thanksgiving to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Nowadays we don't have korbanot. Unfortunately, we say Birkat Gomel for those things, right? But in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, they would bring korban toda. What was korban toda? You would bring a korban, and with it you would bring how many breads? How many breads? 40 loaves of breads, right? 40 breads, matzah. All this is matzah, but bread matzah, right? Why so many, by the way? Because of what we just mentioned. Just let's open a parenthesis over here. It's beautiful. Korban toda was different than all the other regular korbanot in its time limits. Usually, when you have a korban that you bring, you have a full day, right? So you have a day and 2 nights, right? So you have the whole day afterwards, tomorrow, to eat it, to finish it. We understand that it's a korban, it's a lot of meat. It's a time limit. Korban toda is very time limited, right? It's leyom v'layla at chatzot. That's it. You bring the korban, you have until that night and until the midnight of that night and finished. Few hours you have. Imagine you brought this cow, hundreds of pounds of meat. How are you going to eat that? And on top of it, 40 loaves of bread. Hazaku Baruch, right? That's very diet conducive, right? So the reason is, Chazal say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to be mefarsem the nest that happened to you. That's what Korban Todah. You're thanking Hashem. It's Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. We want you to bring all of your neighborhood, all your friends. And they say, "Oh, you inviting us at a Korban Todah? Oh, what happened?" And then it gives you a platform to talk about the goodness that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has done for you. So that's Korban Todah. Now this becomes very important because once we're in the parentheses, let me just explain what we need for the platform of this discussion. If you have a regular korban toda, you bring the korban and 40 loaves, right? If you have a chilufei toda, right? So in other words, means you separated it, you got lost, and when you found it, you brought it, and you have now the exchange of it. When you bring the exchange, it does not have any loaves. It's just the korban itself. Right? Very hegioni, it's very sensible, very sensible. Now, this gives you a problem because what happens now if I separated the korban toda, I lost it, I separated another one, then I found the first one, and now I have 2, right? I have now 2. Which one should I be bringing? Obviously, I'll be bringing the original one with the 40 loaves, right? With the 40 loaves. Now, what happens if I mix them up? One of them died. So I don't know which one died. They're very similar, right? Very similar. And one of them is dead. Now what do I do? So I'm stuck. It's like a catch-22. I can't bring this korban to the Beit HaMikdash without the 40 loaves, because what if it is the actual korban todah, right? It needs the 40 loaves. And I can't bring it without. I can't bring it without, because maybe it's the actual korban. I can't bring it with. Maybe it's the tumor. Maybe it's the exchange, right? So I'm stuck. Gemara says that's the case. We're talking about chilufei todah. The Tani Rabbi Chia, we learned in the name of Rabbi Chia, todah shenit arba betmurata. If a korban todah got mixed up with its exchange, right? You lost it, you separate another one, you found it, you have two, it got mixed up, you don't know which one is which. Umeta achad mehem, one of them died. Chaverta en la takana. Its friend, the other one, doesn't have a takara. You're stuck. You're literally stuck. You love it. How are you going to do it? If you want to bring it, then bring the 40 loaves with it. What do you mean? You can't do that. Maybe it is the temura, not the actual one. So you can't bring it with loaves. Bringing it without the loaves, you can't do that either, because dilma todai, maybe it's the actual korban that absolutely needs the 40 loaves. So that's what we're talking about. What's the obvious question in this? Good, but it's part of the korbanot, right? Korban todah is actually is a korban shlamim, right? To bring a korban, I ask a better question. The better question is, what's the halacha of this? We just said the halacha is you're stuck. You're not going to bring it. That is the halacha. You go ask the rabbi. So what do I do with this? My korban todah got lost. I chose another one. Then I found it. Then they got mixed up. One of them died. What do I do? What's the halacha? You don't bring it. You can't bring it. So if you can't bring it because you're stuck, then what are you talking about being over on Baltacher? The halacha is I can't even bring this. I'm stuck. So of course I'm not going to be over on Baltacher. What are you talking about? Right? It's a simple, like a aha question. It's like, what are you talking about? It's irrelevant. This one I cannot bring. I'm stuck with this one. So Kevan the love but akrava. The Gemara asks the question. Once I cannot bring this korban, what do I need? I need a pasuk to tell me I'm not going to be delinquent if I don't bring it. I can't bring it. Right? It says the Gemara, okay, it retracts. You're right. You see how we went through the whole cycle, process of elimination. He says, no, you know what? The first thing I told you is correct. The very first thing. We're coming to be mema'et, the exchange of ola and shlamim. What was the question of the Gemara on that? The question was, the exchange of ola and shlamim is also a korban. So of course it's going to have its own limitations. The Gemara says, yes, but you know what Hava Amina I would have had? My Hava Amina would be, Vehacha b'may askinan. We're talking about a specific case. Kegon she'avru alav shnei regalim vehumam. You chose a korban ola, right? And you said, I'm going to bring it, right? One chag passed, you didn't bring it. Second chag passed, you didn't bring it. You said, okay, I'm mamash going to bring it, right? And then the korban was blemished. You got the blemish. So what do you have to do now? When your korban gets a blemish, you have to have a chilufim, right? Now you have to have an exchange for it. Now this exchange, is it the extension of the first one? Or is it its own thing? When am I going to be? Yeah, of course I'm going to be over on Baltacher because the korban, right? It's going to have its Baltacher. That was the kasha originally. But when is it going to be Baltacher? Where does the clock start? The clock starts from 2 chagim ago, because this is the extension of the before one. Yeah. And now one says, right? And I'm going to be stuck. One says yes on this, right? Yes. You're going to be very shocked. That's now, okay. Right? Yes. Or maybe it has its own clock, because even though that it is the replacement of the previous one, it is its own korban. Give him a chance. Says Gemara, you exchanged it, you mechalel this original korban's kedusha on a new animal that's not blemished. Ve'avar alav regel echad, And now one Yom Tov passed on this new one. Subtotal of 3 Chagim, right? Were you over or not? You would have thought, you would have thought, just like Rabbi Michael said over here, that because this is the extension of the previous one, it's already equivalent of 3 regalim passing on the same korban, and therefore you're in transgression. It teaches you, don't think like that. Right? It has its own clock that it starts the moment that you're mechalel the kedusha of the previous one on the new one. It has its own thing. So Mara says, wait a second. That works according to all the other Tanaim that they have at least more than one regel. Going to be made, remember? One strike out. One chag passes and you're over. So how do you have this according to Rabbi Meir? One regel and you're out. The one says, what can you say? Amar Rava. Rava says, no problem. What's the problem? In the middle of the regel has not passed. In the middle of the chag, it has the mum. You exchange the kedusha of it on a different animal. So each one of them had a half a regel. According to the mayor, you're still not over the clock starts again. You have to have at least a full regel to pass on it. And therefore, I would have thought, because it's coming from the extension of the first one, it should be like a korban that the entire regel passed on it. It teaches you that no, the extension is not a full extension. Even though that this is a replacement of the first one, it is its own korban, and it clocks by itself from the beginning. You have a renewed clock on the second korban, and Bezat Hashem will continue this in the days to come.